Hey everybody, happy Thursday here. I've done a few videos similar talking about this situation for people selling their home as is. I've talked about it both on the buying side and on the selling side. And I've just kind of ran into it a few times here lately where I've had a few people obviously looking to sell their home and telling me, hey, they want to sell their home as is. And then a few people they have contacted me on potentially wanting to buy a home, but then the seller is disclosing they're selling it as is, and it's greatly deterred them. And then I will tell you in this video what I tell buyers and what I tell sellers. So I think it's one of the biggest mistakes sellers can make for a variety of reasons. And I'm going to give you a quick example here. Buyer calls me, hey, Steven, want to go see this home? They're an FHA buyer, they're a VA buyer, they're a USDA buyer, they're a government loan buyer, even conventional sometimes. You can get an appraiser that is a little bit crazy on some of the stuff they require, even conventional. And they say, I want to go look at this home. I said, hey, they're selling this as is. Well, what that means for a buyer is basically, sure, yeah, if you get it under contract, you do inspection, but they're not going to do any repairs. But the kicker is if you do an appraisal and the appraiser sends a lender of required repairs for your loan and the seller will not fix it, well, you just paid $500 for an inspection. You just paid $500 for an appraisal. You're at $1,000 and you cannot even buy the home. So I explain that to buyers when they see that. Now, that's probably like an extreme version of that situation, but it does happen. It is a version of that situation. And let alone you're going to have buyers that are, I'll just say you're more educated buyers and they see a home that says as is. They automatically think, and this is probably a large portion of buyers, they automatically think, what's wrong with it? Oh my gosh, it's probably got foundation issues, probably got major issues, right? It's not in the photos. Something's got to be major wrong with it or they wouldn't be selling it as is. They automatically think that. So you have buyers that otherwise would be very interested in your home that aren't going to even go look at your home now because it's being advertised as being sold as is. Now, I have done it in the past where sellers have came to me and we've kind of sold their home as is. But generally, I'll say 95% of the time when I educate a seller on here's why I don't recommend it. Usually they say, oh, that makes complete sense. I didn't know you could do that. And let me explain what I mean. So seller comes to me, Steven, I want to sell my home as is. Sure, don't recommend it because, right, buyers are going to see it. They're not even going to want to go look at it because you're selling it as is. Then they're going to know if something happens down the road and the appraiser flags their loan based on a repair. There's a piece of wood rot you need to replace, a $5 fix, but you're not willing to do it. Deal's dead, so they don't pay attention to it. So you're just lost, let's just say 50% of the buyers that are interested, gone. So they're not even interested. So your chances of getting multiple offers or asking price or higher is 50% less. And then you're going to cut out majority of your government loans, which is probably here in our area, 60 to 70% of your buyers. So you're essentially left with like 20% of the people that might be interested. And then what they're going to do is they're going to go out and look at your home. And they're going to see all the issues, right? Every little crack in the home, every little chipping paint, everywhere where caulking's missing, everywhere there's a loose handrail, everywhere there's some wood rot from water damage, everywhere where you had a patch job on the roof. And they're going to take note of all this stuff. And they're going to say, my gosh, they're asking $300,000, but look at all these issues that they're not going to fix. Well, all these issues, if I got to come in and fix it, that's worth $30,000. Why would I give them $300,000 when I need $30,000 to fix all this stuff? So when you want to educate sellers on how all that stuff works, and that we can get around all that stuff by, for one, definitely not advertising it. But there's ways to do repairs in real estate that protects you as a seller, right? Because I see, and I think it's people who aren't educated about how it works, but I see the argument, right? I don't want to make a major repair as a seller in a contract and then something happened to the buyer, right? They lose financing, they fell through, and I just spent $10,000 on X, right? And now I start all over, right? I don't want to do that either. And I think a lot of people think that's the case, but it's not. There's ways to offer credits right? Such as money to a licensed contractor to do the work. So everybody's happy. Home closes. You write a $5,000 check to the licensed contractor to come in to redo the back deck. And you're happy. Get a brand new back deck. Seller wasn't out anything. They closed. All good. You can do it that way. You can offer closing costs, right? Buyer says, I can do that myself. It's going to cost me $5,000 to do it. Great. Well, here's $5,000 towards your closing costs because you were going to be paying $10,000 in closing. Now you're only paying $5,000 in closing. So there's a ways to do it like that. And I highly recommend that way. I think that's, if you're not already paying closing costs, offering that in the form of repairs, I think is huge. And then there is, obviously having somebody to come out, such as if the repair is required by the lender, the appraiser, have somebody come out. A lot of, good handyman, a lot of times your agent will know a contractor, handyman, and a lot of these people will come out to do the work in order to get you to the closing table. They will then give their invoice to me. I will give their invoice to the title company, and then you're not out of pocket. The work will be done, and then at closing, bam, you sign, they're paid out of your proceeds. So there's a ton of ways to be very creative in real estate to get repairs done that otherwise would have prevented you from selling the home. And I think that's just one of the ultimate mistakes. And again, seeing it on both sides all the time, where a buyer will look at it and they'll say, what's your thoughts, man? I see they're selling it as is, Stephen. What's your thoughts on that? Well, they're selling it as is. All right, I'm not even interested in if they're not going to do repairs, right? And you as a seller ultimately probably don't know everything that's wrong with your home. And so there's the other side of that. Well, if you're going to do that, all right, well, you as a seller, pay $500 to a home inspector, have them come out, do a home inspection, right? Do we have your house priced based on the 50-page home inspection report of known repairs? Then you put that on the MLS. Buyers agents can disclose that to their people. You fully disclose it, and then buyers know what they're getting themselves into. And you may have issues that you didn't even know about. Your whole crawl space could be moldy. I see that all the time, where people in the crawl space, there's termite damage underneath there. There's active termites they didn't even know. There's mold underneath there. They didn't even know. Thousands of dollars of stuff that you didn't know about. So there is that option. It's not a bad option, I think, for some people to go ahead and do that. And then it makes the disclosing the as-is sell a little bit better because now people have a repair. Or I'm sorry, people have an inspection report to go off of. But I just kind of wanted to do a little recap on all that, talk about, because I've done several videos on like kind of both sides of it. This just kind of recaps everything, brings it all together, because I think it just deters so many buyers. And sellers, ultimately, you lose, right? You lose by doing this. You do not get the best offer, almost guaranteed, because you've deterred 80% of the entire buyer market when you tell them you're selling this as is, when there's ways for you to greatly benefit and still not be out thousands for repairs. So if you ever have questions about any of this stuff, real estate, always feel free, text me, call me, message me, always happy to help.